I actually go to my parents' place in Kembangan. Because this is the issue of me living in Clementi actually. So, and I think the Saturday class, more people are from the east, if I'm not wrong. And Saturday, people might not be from work. They may be from home, jemputan, whatever, is different. I think weekdays. And so Saturdays, you all know NUS, kan? Unless you're doing your FIP, right, but then, like, if you are weekdays, more likely you're in NUS, kan? And also can open up to NUS students lah. I'll discuss that. I'll talk to Rubat. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. نويت تعلم وتعليم ومذاكرة تذكر وتذكير ونفع وانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضى قرب الثواب سبحانه وتعالى مع نسل وعافنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما دين من صفي هاني بأغني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما دين من صفي هاني بأغني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما دين من صفي هاني. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. نوينا بسنا تفسير سيرة النبي النبوية الشريفة تقرب إلى الله تعالى وإلى نبيه صلى الله عليه وسلم حتى نراه في حياتنا وفي آخرتنا وعند موتنا وفي قبرنا وأن الله سبحانه وتعالى يرزقنا ويهب علينا اتباعه ظاهرا وباطنا حقيقة من قلوبنا وفي أزواجنا وفي ذريتنا وإلى يوم القيامة. فاتحة. Alright, Alhamdulillah. Alright, so I won't be using the mic lah. Kalau 3 orang macam. There's only 3 of you here, so cozy lah, cozy. Right, so okay, so if you see here, right, the chart above, it is the calling to Islam. In the open, right, the order has come down to Rasulullah SAW. Last week we went into calling to Islam secretly. And so we know the first 3 years, Rasulullah SAW was calling people or inviting people to the belief of Allah, in Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, right, as the one true God, and the rejection of the idols, and also towards goodness. So it's not just Tawheed that he is calling to, but he's calling to equality. He is calling to goodness. He is calling to elimination of crimes in society. Right, because and that is what it is. Right, that is what it is. The thing about Tawheed, about the belief in the one true God, is that it brings you, right, to the obedience of the one true God. Right, the one true God, he knows what is good for human beings. He knows what is right and what is wrong. Basically, he makes the standard. He sets the standard as to what is correct and what is wrong in society. Human beings, if left to themselves to make up their own laws, right, then the society will rule. Right, and the society will rule based on their nafs. Right, so that's how you get laws. You get in our day, even then we have, like, legalized abortion. Right, we have, and the things that you would think, these are not this shouldn't be legalized. Right, it shouldn't be. It's not right. Right, they have all of these things. Right, but the religion, people without religion, basically they're just groping around. And they're groping around in life, figuring out what are the laws that should be set. Right, which is why, with human laws, this is why today we see all kinds of crimes spread in society all over the world. Right, so even though they have laws to clamp down, on theft, right, on murder, on raping, on whatsoever, there's laws that clamps it down. But the laws of the human beings, they don't eliminate these crimes. And that's why, it's shocking lah, but in America. Then I was watching, like years ago lah, when I was watching Oprah, those 8 days lah, I used to watch Oprah. But basically, when she used to discuss issues, when she began to go into celebrities, then I stopped watching her. But she used to discuss real issues, right, amongst the American society. So she was discussing about the number 1 cause of death of women in America is her own husband. It makes your hair stand down. And the number 1 cause of death, cause of death of a woman in America is her own husband. And that makes your hair stand. Right? What's going on in the society? Right? So Islam subhanahu wa ta'ala, when during the golden age of Islam, when the Sharia was widespread, right, all of these crimes were eliminated completely eliminated. Right? Even, and this is because, of course, the divine wisdom lah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when it comes to laws. Right? He clamps things in the bud. right? The Sharia. And the Sharia, basically, things are just nipped in the bud. Right, so they don't spread and they cause destruction and corruption in society. And of course, the belief in one God, it is a strong factor to stop people from disobeying, and to stop people from harming other people, because they know that there is a greater power who will hold them to account. Right, so this is what it stops them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says that the little girl who was buried alive, she will be questioned on the day of judgment. Right, so you think that you buried her alive, you have gotten away with your crime. No. On the day of judgment, she'll be brought up. And Allah won't even speak to the father. Allah speaks to her directly. And Allah will ask, for what sin was she buried? Right? For what sin were you buried? And what was your sin? And the father will not even be spoken to. Right? Because Allah, there's no excuse. The father has no excuse as to why he did that. Right? So I mean, this is what the belief in the one true God, right? The just God. The belief, and that brings you to the belief of this world, the next world. So it rectifies life. Life is rectified as a whole. Like this thing is embraced lah. But of course, in our time, we have people, even believers, disbelievers, whereby they don't have strong belief in the hereafter. They don't have, which is why it propels them to doing sins, right? Because they don't believe truly that they will be questioned about whatever they are doing. If we truly believed in that, we would never even come near anything, right, that would be that we will be questioned about. We will not dare come near, right? So Rasulullah, that's what he was calling to, right? Which is why it was a serious thing, right? Because it's not just the idols, right? The idols is one thing, right? The people of Mecca at the time, the pagans, they were in love with their idols, right? And their idols basically allowed them, and because they made up their gods, so they made up the laws for this god. So the laws that the gods gave it's from them from who, right? So they made up the whole situation, and of course in the society there was no governance, right? So it was basically the powerful rule. That was it, flat out. The powerful rule. You have money, you have power, you rule, right? So it's basically you get your way lah. So you can cheat whoever you want to cheat, and you will get your way, right? And nobody can call you to account. Nobody, because there is no police, there is no government, nothing. Right, that was the kind of society that they were doing. So they could do all kinds of like atrocities in that kind of society, because it's so they were free to do whatever they want to do. If you have power, you have tribe, you have family name, you have money, that's it. Right, you rule. If you are weak, if you are a foreigner, right, if you don't have a tribe behind you, you will be abused. Right, and we will see this after the manifestation of Islam. So the first 3 years, right, Islam was being spread quietly, because it would be a very difficult thing for the Arabs to accept. Right? It'd be very, very, because it's a complete change. Like, completely ditch your idols. First thing, throw away all your idols. Your whole societal laws collapse. Right? Because for them, the rich rule, the poor suffer. No, Islam is like, all of you flat out plain. There's going to be zakat to be paid. Right? There's going to be prayers 5 times a day. Right, so basically there's going to be a situation, and you are not better. One is not better than the other just because of his color, right? They're all on flat ground. Everybody's the same. The slave and the free man, they are the same. Right? Your slaves are to have rights, and they are to be treated well. And this is something radical, right? To the Arabs at the time, is so is beyond your understanding. And then slowly Islam will move towards no wine, no alcohol, right? No cheating, plundering, stealing, all out. So, right, fornication, all out, everything removed, right? Of what they were engrossed in, they were drowning in like these Arabs. Right? So it's a huge change that's about to happen. Which is why the historians, they saw this entire period of Islam that came into Arabia at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was an amazing phenomenon. It was amazing because you completely changed an entire society of hooligans. You would say, you would call them hooligans, real barbarians they were, right? For them, and in fact, in the books they will say this kind of people, like all they saw, like here they say that they don't have that these people, right? All they saw in the society, right, was that whenever they had any fights, right, between people, right, they will straight away go to the sword. Right, sword was the only way to rectify any form of argument. So, and we understand in the Sirah, right, when we read it in the Sirah, when they were even arguing about the black stone, who can put the black stone in, they were about to go to battle. These people, about the black stone, right, who can put the black stone in the Kaabah, like in back to his place. They were about to go to war and kill each other, right, to see who has the right to put the black stone in. Right, so
in the Sirah, when we learned that Rasulullah's family It's always the leader, right?
They are the respected ones. They are natural leaders, not elected, right? Nor are they given a title, right? But they are, because of their characteristics, they are naturally the one people will turn to for advice and obey. So it's called natural leaders, right? So like in the society, like for example, like in Tarin, naturally people obey what Habib says. Habib Omar. He's not the prime minister, nor is he the anything like that. There's no position to him except that he's the principal of our school. But the whole community, right, they just listen to whatever he says. Right? He's not the only one, like the other Habibs now. Basically the Habibs, they have like a power to them, because they are wise, they are knowledgeable, they are fair. Right? They have basically the characteristics lah, the characteristics. So people naturally obey them. Right? But it's not like they are elected to be governor. Right? Or so it's not an official position, right? But it is a natural position that people took, right, for the government.
Up to Abu Talib, I thought they normally have a meeting around.
Yeah, they have in Darun Nadwa, right? They have there's a house whereby one of Rasul's ancestors built that house for discussion. So the elders of society, so they're not the government, right, but the elders. So the older ones. So that's what happening during the when Prophet came about. So they were doing that also. They were going to this place and discussing what can we do about this man. But it was basically the elders who were the rich ones lah. Right, basically the richer ones. Right, so no, it's okay.
So after Abu Talib died, there was no natural succession.
Yes, there was
Abu
no.
Jahal is like
He asserts himself,
okay.
right? But he is not what any like. He's not like a understood by everybody in society loves him, or everybody in society goes to him. Like Abdul Muttalib, he was respected. He was turned to by everybody in society by consensus. They all loved him and turned to him for advice. Abu Jahal, no. He was a very assertive man. Strong man. He forced people to go to war against the Muslims without their will, and he was one who forced the boycott. We learned about the boycott against the family of Rasulullah. He forced it, but again they went against him. Right? It was the same disbelievers, a group of disbelievers who thought that Abu Jahl was being ridiculous about this boycott, and they rebelled against Abu Jahal. So he's not even a leader in any way. Right? So there was no proper leadership, right, when Islam came. Right? But there was a group of elders who would discuss, and they would carry out their discussion lah. Right? Basically, that's what they were doing. Alright. So this is the beginning of Islam. Right? For 3 years, it was necessary, these 3 years, right, to build the strength of the new Muslims who came into Islam secretly. Right? So their faith was being built, right, in these first 3 years. Alright. So and we know of the early Muslims, Sayyidina Ali, Sayyidina Khadijah, Sayyidina Abu Bakr, Sayyidina Uthman, Sayyidina Ubaidillah, Sayyidina Abu Ubaidah, and so on. Like of the first Muslims, right? And then of the first Muslims also, what Rasulullah SAW was bringing, right, in this first few years of Islam, right, mainly, right, it was Tawheed. Mainly it is Tawheed, and it is the purification of the self. Right, two main things that Rasulullah brought. Right, actually 4 main things. There was Tawheed, there was purification of the self. Right, there is encouragement towards higher character, right, more noble character, and the last one, it was the belief in reckoning, right, heaven and hell, and the day of judgment. Right, so basically these 4 things were being brought. Right, the laws were not being sent down yet. Right, the only law that was sent down was the law of prayer. Prayer has been sent down. So when Rasulullah first got revelation, prayer was also taught to him. So Jibril came to Rasulullah once when he was in the cave. He struck the rock, right, and water gushed forth. Right, and then he took wudu, and Rasulullah followed him with the wudu, and then he prayed, and Rasulullah was praying with Jibril. Thereafter, Rasulullah taught Sayyidina Khadijah. She taught the early Muslims about prayer, and they would pray. So this was before Isra wal Mi'raj, right? So they would pray morning and evening. And that was it. Their prayer was morning and evening. It wasn't 5 times a day. It was only after Isra and Mi'raj that it became 5 times a day. All right. Okay. So that was the first part. All right. So then Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, right, Right, then Rasulullah SAW was given the commandment to go public. Right, so now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it compulsory for Rasulullah SAW to go public. Right, so with his going public, right, what did he do? The verse came down whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, A'udzubillahi minasyaitanirrajim, wa anzir ashiratakal aqrabin, right, and warn your close family. Right, did I go through this last week a bit? Do you remember? Were you here? I went through a bit, right? Not in so much in detail. Yeah, about him standing in front of his family, inviting them for a banquet. Right? He had no, I didn't go through it. Okay, so I go through it today. All right. So basically, the first commandment, right, was to spread the message to your family, right, to your tribe. So Rasulullah SAW, he invited his entire tribe, right, to come and eat at his home. Okay, so he prepared food and he invited all of them to come. Right, Abu Lahab, he is the uncle of Rasulullah SAW. Right, uncle. He is also the neighbor of Rasulullah SAW. We spoke about Abu Lahab, did we?
Yes.
We spoke. Was this tafsir or was this Sirah?
I don't know, but
Because I know in Sirah I went through Surah Lahab. Yeah, so I know I went to a lot. So you're in the tafsir class also. So I'm not sure if you're thinking of a tafsir one or the Sirah one. Because the Sirah one, I think I did not go into much Abu Lahab. But the tafsir, I went to deep detail about Abu Lahab. Right, because of Surah Lahab lah. Right, Surah Lahab, Abu Lahab. Right, so I was mentioned, right. So I know that you're thinking of tafsir. Thinking of Sirah. Right, different class. Right, so he invited his family, right, down to his to have a meal. And this is the first sunnah of da'wah. Actually, that's why when we learn Sirah, we're pulling out lessons. Right, so he first has to have a meal with his family, right, to just soften their hearts, and see how this goes lah. So he invited them. Abu Lahab, he kind of knew what was going on. This was after 3 years, 3 years of silent da'wah. So of course, being the neighbor, you would be suspicious, right? Because you kind of see people going in and out of the house of Rasulullah SAW, right? So you kind of you catch a wind lah. You catch a wind of what's going on, right, in your neighbor's house. So he kind of knew lah that Rasulullah he's not a worshipper of the idols, and he's calling to the worship of one God. But he does not know exactly the extent of it lah, that he's the prophet sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and so on, right? So that the extent of it, is now going to be proclaimed. That's why these years will be very difficult years for the Muslims, right? And you will see the strategies that we have here, that the disbelievers, they employed, right? The first thing they did was to ignore it, right? At first they ignored it, thinking that it was a phase and it will go away. And this is also something that when I speak to my friends who are converts, whose families are against their conversion, right? They say this is the same thing that happens to them, right? The same practice, right? So first there will be the ignoring. So the family, my friend, she's a Hindu convert, right? Hindu, she came into Islam. So she told her parents through a letter, right? She wrote a letter and she told her parents that she's converted into Islam lah. Because she was too scared, right? Because like for them also, there's this stigma around the Indians when it comes to Hindu and Muslims, because they fight in India, right? So and she's from India herself. So it's a major situation if one of you enters Islam, right? Because they are from India, and India has this dynamics between Hindus and Muslims whereby they are not in good terms, right? Not in good terms. So basically, she entered into Islam when she was in the university, right? So she was too scared to her parents. Eventually, she wrote a letter to tell her parents, right? Her parents' first reaction, ignore, completely ignore. The letter was sent, ignore it even happened. Right, so they still treated her like their own Hindu daughter. So completely, as if it's a phase, she's going to grow out of it. Right, that's what they were thinking lah. She's going to grow out of this phase. She's being influenced by her friends. When she comes home after university, she'll grow out of this idea of being Muslim, whatever. So same thing, same story. But when they realize it's not something that's going to disappear, right? So they realize it's getting stronger, and it's not something that it's just going to go away. It's like a fad that Rasulullah came up with, whatever. No, it's not. Right? It's actually a phenomenon. It's going to change society forever. Right? So they realize it's about to happen. So they start to become aggressive. Right? So that their aggression happens in a few ways. First is to deny the message itself. Right? So you have the mockers, right? Those who mock Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, make fun of him, right? Try to belittle Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a prophet. I mean, basically try to undermine him lah, basically, the mockers. And then you have those who accuse him of false things. So they accuse him of being a crazy man. They accuse him of being a liar. They accuse him of being a soothsayer. They accuse him of being a magician. So accusations, right, will be thrown at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is basically to compromise, right, on the credibility of the source. Because if you're going to be against something, you threaten the source itself lah. Like how credible is his source? So you know Rasulullah throughout his entire 40 years in Mecca, he was never known to lie. He has a very good record. He was the best of people in society. Everybody loved him. He was the most trusted, and he will continue to be the most trusted in society. So there's no blemish on his record whatsoever. And now, if you're going to deny him, you need to have some reason why you're denying him. So they start to throw false accusations, say stuff about him. And we'll go into it today also as to what they were doing. This is basically an overview. They were throwing false accusations. And then on top of that, so when that did not work, throwing false accusations, mocking him, making fun of him and whatsoever, it did not stop people from entering Islam. Then they began the torture. So then they began the torture. And my friend, she was saying, some of my friends, they say that, sometimes when you enter into Islam, then at first your parents ignore you. Thereafter, they be like, do you even know what you're doing? And then they begin to question you. You used to love to drink. You used to love to, that's why I said, do you even know why you're doing this? Are you so sure is the truth? How sure are you is the truth? What if you're being deluded? What if show me, basically the questions come. How do you really know this is the truth? This is ridiculous at all the Muslims out there. They're crazy people. But basically they go on and on and on to undermine the credibility of this new religion. To basically to remove it, to destroy it. And if that doesn't work, then of course your family members, there's no torture lah. But of course if the Sahabas their own family members tortured them. Tortured them. But usually with people of today, there's a boycott. A boycott happens. Get out of the house. You want to stay a Muslim, get out. So that one happens. They get thrown out of the house, which is why the support of converts is something very important. Because they are facing it alone. And if you look at statistics, a lot of people, it's quite scary lah. The day I was looking, they said, if I'm not wrong, 7 in 10, if I'm not wrong lah, if I remember the statistics correctly, 7 in 10 converts who convert into Islam within 1 year convert out. Because it's hard, it's difficult, not enough support. So it's on us lah. It's on us. It's our situation, because we are not supporting. So Rasulullah time was same thing. So basically it's all lessons. Because they are being persecuted and they are being ostracized by their own families, thrown out by their own families, called crazy, called you love the Malay boy, you love the basically accused of doing this blindly. You are blinded by love, so you're going to enter into Islam. Basically they are being accused, and it's difficult. And then they are still in Islam, but the whole time they're being bombarded by their family. And if you don't have support from somebody close to them, a friend or whatsoever, who can give them support, then very easily the family will just make them come back. Because it's too difficult to fight this. Unless the iman very strong, like the Sahaba. The iman was very strong. So my friend, she said she suffered a lot. She suffered a lot in her early years of Islam. A lot. Terrible, because it was complete rejection, ostracization. They ostracize her out of the family. Get out of the family, go live by yourself, don't come back here with that hijab, don't you dare. A lot of things happen. And then they still denied her Islam, and they tried to matchmake her to Hindu guys, to make her marry a Hindu so she'll come back to Hinduism and whatsoever. And they won't let her attend weddings with family because if you're going to come with the hijab, you're not going to come for weddings. So they will tell the family members, she's having chicken pox or something. They say she's having a sickness, she cannot come. That kind of thing. So they make up stuff so as to not have the shame. And she was not allowed to meet her grandparents because they give them a shock of their lives to find out that she's Muslim. So basically, even as women, it's even harder because you have to cover up now. So your Islam is clear, is apparent. You cannot hide your Islam. The food that you eat, you have to pray 5 times a day. It's hard to hide it, to completely hide. You can say I'm vegetarian now, that kind of thing. And then alcohol. It's very hard to actually enter this. So if I'm not wrong, the statistics is either 7 out of 10 or is 5 out of 10. It's around there. I was shocked when I saw the statistics of new Muslims who actually leave the religion within the year, within the first year of being Islam.
The Rakam Dawah program, they were saying that the converts have difficulty within their own, like if they marry into a Muslim guy, they're saying, but the Muslim guy do not pray.
There's also one issue also.
The Muslim guy go clubbing. Then it's very difficult for them. Then it's like, but my leader is not doing anything. So it's very difficult.
The challenges are a lot lah. There's those that enter by themselves, then they have challenges with their family. Then there are those that enter because of another Muslim that they fell in love with, and that Muslim, Allahu Alam, his practice right, of Islam, doesn't pray, doesn't fast, doesn't basically, but because to get married, we have to. But Singapore now is a growing issue of civil marriage. It's a growing issue, It's all issues of society, and which is why we learn Sirah. Sirah, we learn solutions, right, as to how Rasulullah face these things, because it's all society. Right? Sirah is not just story; it's society, it's people. Like what is going on with them, right? So and so also is important for new Muslims to also learn the Sirah, right? So they feel comforted, right? That the Sahabas are all converts. Right, all the Sahabas are converts. Right? You have to understand, they were all converts. Right? So, they saw their own family disbelief. They saw their own father being cursed in the Quran. Some of the Sahabas, Ikrimah bin Abu Jahl, Abu Jahl's son. He's a Sahaba, He's a Sahaba. Right? But then he's a Sahabi, but his father cursed in the Quran. Right? Khalid bin Walid, his father cursed in the Quran. Today we'll talk about Khalid bin Walid's father. Right, so it's hard for them. It's hard. It's very hard to actually read the verse knowing it's talking about your father, whom you have admired all your life. And these are very wise people. Walid bin Mughira was a very wise man. And he was looked up to in society, right? But he could not accept the message. He had this arrogance about himself. Right? Today we'll see about his story today. Inshallah, we'll go into it. But Khalid bin Walid inherited from his father. He got this wisdom, and this smartness. And Walid bin Mughira trained Sayyidina Khalid bin Walid on the sword when he was 2 years old. Right, so he was trained on the sword from a very young. He's a master, right, of this, and the father will bring him through all kinds of routes, right, in the desert. Right, so he knew the entire peninsula, like the back of his hand. He knew the whole thing. So when he came to jihad later on, he could take shortcuts that nobody knew of, and he knew of wells around the peninsula that nobody else knew of. Right? And he's like, how in the world do you know there was a well here? He said, because my father used to train me. And my father, Walid bin Mughira, he used to train me on all these things. So I knew all. So it came into use later on in Islam. Right? But he wept when he read the verses talking about his father. And today we'll go into those verses, right? About the father of Sayyidina Khalid bin Walid. So these are things that the converts, when you teach to them, right? They, it's hard. It's hard. I won't say it's easy. It's hard. Right, but you see the Sahaba lah. They are your example. Right, how they face it. Sayyidina Mus'ab, today we also speak about him. How he faced his mother, his beloved mother. He's like mother's boy, Sayyidina Mus'ab. But his mother, subhanallah, after he entered into Islam, right? She, basically what she did to him lah. Right, after he entered into Islam. Okay. So the understanding of this society, yes. So Rasulullah, he called his family to the feast, right? And Abu Lahab, before Rasulullah could speak, right? Abu Lahab, he got up, right? And he said that, where's Abu Lahab's speech? Right, so Abu Lahab, he got up, right? And he said that, right, so basically Abu Lahab, right, before Rasulullah could speak, right, in the first time he called his family, Abu Lahab, he got up, like he began to just talk, like random talking, right, saying these are your uncles and your aunts and your cousins, right, and if you and leave, what you're trying to do, or leave what you're trying to make people disbelieve basically in their idols lah. Right, so he was talking, and then he was saying, all of you go off, right? Don't stay here. You have eaten already, right? Just go home. So everybody got up and they left. And Rasulullah just kept quiet. So the first time round, he was basically snubbed by Abu Lahab. Right, there was no chance for him to talk because Abu Lahab got up and he just basically took over the entire event, and he sent everybody home after that. So the second time, Rasulullah did not give up. He invited his family again. Right, his tribe, right? The tribe of Hashim and Abdul and Muttalib, Hashim and Bani Muttalib. Right, so he invited them again. And this time round, he spoke before the food. Okay, last time round he gave the food first, and then he spoke. And now he spoke before the food came. Right, so he began by first praising Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, right, and saying that we praise Him and we seek His help and we believe in Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Right, and he says it, and he said, I praise Allah and I seek His help and I believe in Allah and I have tawakkal on Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala and I bear witness. So he begins his speech, and I bear witness that there is no God except Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, the one, the only. There is no partner with Him, Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. And then he says that for surely, right, a trustworthy person will never lie to his family. He began that way, and they know he's not a liar. Right? So what more lie to his own family? So he began, a trustworthy person, he will never lie to his family. And he said, and I swear by Allah, right, the one whereby there is no God except Him, right? So he's now emphasizing there's no God except Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. That for surely I am a prophet of Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala to you. Go straight to the message. I am. It doesn't even like beat around the bush or whatever. No, straight away, I am a prophet of Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala to you, right? Specifically, and to all of humanity generally. I mean, to you specifically, my family, and to all of human beings in general. And then he says, and I swear by Allah, right, you will die. This is how you fall asleep, and you will be raised in the next world. This is how you wake up. And so he speaks about the reality of death. Right? So if you want to talk to people, so this is how he's teaching people now. First and foremost, the true God. When you talk to people, you tell them there is one God. You know there's one God. All human beings, there's a sense in our hearts, there is one God. We all believe. All human beings have that in their roh. Your soul tells you that there is this one God, whereby it came from. And then he said that he is the prophet of Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. And before that, he began by saying that I will never lie to my family. I will never do something to ruin you. Right? Never. Right? What I'm doing here is for your own good. Then he goes into the reality of death that nobody can deny. Right? Death cannot be denied by any sane human being. Right? You can't say that you will not die. Every human being knows that they're going to die. So you will die is how you go to sleep, and you will wake up. So he likens death to sleep. So death is not something that ends there and then. Death comes after death. There is a waking up. You will wake up, and when you wake up, right, you will be questioned. Right? So he says, and for surely you will be questioned on what you used to do. And for surely it is paradise forever, or it is hell forever. Very simple, short speech, right? To get the point through, right? And then Abu Talib, he got up, and Abu Talib is the uncle of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? And then he says that. Right? He says that. We are in your support, O Muhammad. We are in. We would love to be in your support, right? And we have accepted your advice, right? And we know that you are definitely true in your speech. He did not declare his Islam or anything or his belief, right? But he declared his support, and that was important to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right, and he says, as Abu Talib said, and these people in front of you, they are your cousins, right? And we are family. And this is the way about the Arabs. Right? In the time of Rasulullah, they are very much tribal. Right? Tribal, so basically, you support your tribe no matter what. Even if they are wrong, you support them. So what more if they are correct? Which is why Abu Lahab doing what he did was a serious issue that happened in the tribe of Rasulullah, because Abu Lahab is supposed to be of the tribe. He is not supposed to be against Rasulullah, because he's the own uncle of Rasulullah. So him going around speaking bad about his own nephew, like people begin to question the nephew and not the uncle. So you see, how can the uncle, the very uncle of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his own uncle, speaks badly about him? So there is something really serious about him, that the uncle is going around saying such things about his own nephew. And you went into deep detail about Abu Lahab in Surah Lahab Tafsir, Right, so if you want, I can go into a bit here. Right, but we will just continue with the situation. Right, so here, right, and he says that for sure, and Abu Talib said, for surely I am one of your family, right, and I am the fastest of them to go towards what you love, O Muhammad. Because Abu Talib, the thing about Abu Talib was that he made an agreement, a promise. He gave a promise to his father Abdul Muttalib that he will protect Rasulullah SAW with his life. He will. Right, he said there is no way he will abandon Rasulullah SAW. And you will see this in the first few years. This was very important to Rasulullah SAW. Right, and he says, O Muhammad, do as you have been commanded. Right, for surely I swear by Allah, right, I will be by your side. I will be by your footsteps. I will be with you, supporting you with every step of the way. Right. So this was the thing that first happened, right? And after Abu Talib spoke, right, Abu Lahab, he got up and he said, this, I swear by Allah, this is the worst thing that has happened to our family. Right, so he, Abu Lahab is showing a different response, right, from an uncle. That's the worst thing that's happened to our family. Right, I will take you, right, by your hands, in the sense that stop you before other people stop you. Right, and then Abu Talib said, no, you will not do that, right, because he is basically in charge, Abu Talib is in charge. So the first few years we're talking about the first few years of the call to Islam, right, by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, so then the commandment came for him to call all of people. Right. So when he was given the commandment to go and call all of people, he mounted onto the mountain of Safa. And on that mountain, he said, Ya Sabaha, which means to call attention. Right, come, there's important news for me to tell you. Right, so this is basically, it's all commandment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for him to do so. Right, so he's told to call people to Islam outwardly, right, on the mountain, right, for them to hear. Right, so now he says, he calls the different tribes, Ya Bani Fihr, Ya Bani Adi, Ya Bani Fulan wa Fulan wa Fulan. Right, so he will call the different tribes down to listen to him. And everybody, it's something that is not common, because for Rasulullah to stand on the mountain, right, to call the people, to announce something, it's not something that he will usually do. Right, it's not his character to actually be outspoken and out loud, right, in front of the people. So when people heard him calling on the mountain, and they know it's Muhammad al-Amin, right, Muhammad the trustworthy, as-Sadiqul Amin, right, the trustworthy, the truthful, he's calling people on the mountain. So that it has to be something serious lah. Right, something really serious has happened, that he's calling people to come to him on the mountain. Right, so everybody, even those who couldn't make it, they will send somebody over to hear what's the news, to hear what is it that's going to be announced by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, so when they all gathered and they said, what's going on, oh Muhammad, what's going on? The people are all gathered around you. Why are you calling them? So now he says, do you all see that if I were to tell you right now, if I were to say to you right now, that there is a cavalry, right? Cavalry meaning war horses, right? War horses. There's a cavalry behind that valley, at that mountain, waiting in ambush of all of you. Will you believe me? If I tell you right now, there's an entire group of horses, war horses, waiting behind the mountain to ambush Mecca, right, to kill all of you. Will you believe me? Right, they said, yes, of course we will believe you. We have never heard a single lie from you, ever. Right? As far as you've known you since you were a child, you have never lied to us. So if you say that to us right now, we know that you are telling the truth. Right? So then he said, right, so first he's showing them, and this is the strategy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, so before, and as we mentioned, this is how you speak to people. Right, you don't go straight into accusing them. You don't go straight into making them feel bad about themselves. You first speak about how are you with them. Right, so you know me, you all know me, and you just answered to me the same thing. You know me that I never lie. I'm not a liar. You know that one thing about me, that I don't lie. I've never lied. Right? And of course, in other parts of the Sirah, of the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as we mentioned, we take lessons, right, in the lives of these new Muslims who have entered into Islam, the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also how they spoke to the people at that time. Right? The wisdom. behind how they approached their people, right? And also the firmness in religion, right? Whereby you don't give in to all the methods that the people try to make them leave their religion. Right? And they are vicious, these people are vicious in how they're trying to make people leave the religion. So this first period of Islam is very important for us to learn. Very, very important. Lessons in there are very strong for us to learn. So they said, yes, of course, we will listen, we will believe you if you said to us that. So now he has already established rapport. You know, I'm never a liar. I'm a truthful person. So he said, for surely I am a warner for you. Right? I'm out of love. I am a warner for you. Right? In front of a terrible punishment that is about to come and afflict. And for surely, right, my example, right, to you is like a man, right, who sees enemy coming to his people, right, and a serious enemy coming to his people, and he has run to his enemy, right, to try and, he has run to his people to try and save the people from the attack of the enemy. And that is my likeness unto you. Right? So he's saying, I'm here as a warner to tell you there's a serious punishment coming. Like how I gave the example of the war horses. So here I am, to coming as a warner of a coming punishment. Right? And I'm afraid that something bad will afflict you. Right? And then he says, "O people of Quraysh, save yourselves, right? Or by yourselves, save yourselves, right, from the evil punishment, right, that has been prepared. Right? Save yourself from the fire. Right? For surely, O people of Quraysh, I have no power over you on the day of judgment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? I have no power over you to benefit you nor to harm you. Right? Your deeds. Right? I cannot help you." And then he goes on and he mentions every single tribe by name, to show that he cares for every single tribe. That is the way Rasulullah he was. He would look at every single person and he would mention them by name. So he would say, "Ya Bani Ka'ab bin Lu'ay." The tribe of Ka'ab bin Lu'ay. Save yourselves from the fire. I have no power over you on that day, on the day of judgment. And then he goes, "Oh Murrah bin Ka'ab." Like, "Oh Bani Qusay." "Oh Bani Banaf," and so on and so forth into every single tribe that he will mention by name. I have no way to protect you on that day against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you don't try yourself. I cannot help you. And he even went down to say to his uncle, Ya Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib, his uncle, I cannot help you from Allah on that day. And he said, "Oh Fatima binti Muhammad," Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Oh Fatima, my daughter, I myself can't even help you anything on that day if you refuse to believe." Of course, she has believed lah. But he's showing to the Arabs that no matter how close you are to me, if you refuse to believe, my hands are tied. I cannot do anything for you. But the moment you believe, I can intercede for you. So what he means here is that I can't do anything for you, meaning that I cannot do anything for as long as you choose this belief. I believe and I can help you. And we know in the story in Medina, right, there was a Jewish boy that used to work under Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and at his deathbed, and his Jewish boy, he became very sick and he was about to die. Right, Rasulullah went to him and he said to the boy, "Believe, right, believe and testify, right, to Islam." And the boy looked at his father, who was Jewish, and then the father said, "Obey the father of Qasim." And Rasulullah's name is also Abu Qasim, the father of Qasim. His first son was Qasim, so it means obey Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the boy said, "Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah," and then he passed away. Right? And Rasulullah went out of the room and he was smiling, and he said that one more soul to be saved. Right? One more soul. You just give me the word, and I can do everything else for you. Just give me the one word, right? And I can do the rest for you. Right? But without the one word, right, it will be shirk lah. Right? It will be, you're not in the faith. And then it will be difficult for anything to be done for you. Right, so he did this, yeah.
Is it the same Jewish boy in Surah Falaq?
No. The Jewish boy in Surah Falaq was someone else. Yeah. Allahu Alam. Right, so when he did all of these things, the people were silent. Because one thing, they respected him. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They respected him. They knew him to be, he was in his 40s at this time. So he was a very well respected member of society. Right? He was established as a trustworthy and as a faithful, or as a truthful person. Right? He was established. So no one responded. Right? Everyone was quiet. Right? And then Abu Lahab got up. Right, Abu Lahab. He got up and he said, may you be cursed, O Muhammad. For this you call us? For this message? Then Allah sent down the verse, Tabbat yada Abi Lahabi wa tab. Right, destroyed are the hands of Abu Lahab, and how destroyed it is, completely destroyed. Ma aghna anhu maluhu wa ma kasab. Right, his wealth and his children, they do not benefit him anything. Nothing that he earns will benefit him. Yasla naran dhata lahab. Right, he will roast in the fire full of flames. Right, Abu Lahab, the father of flames. Wa amra'atuhu, and his wife, hammalat al-hatab. Right, she will be carrying firewood. Fi jidiha hablum min masad. Around her neck there will be a twisted fiber, right, a palm fiber that will be cutting her neck, because she used to have a rope around her neck, and she would carry a basket whereby she would fill with thorns, and she would throw it on the path of Rasulullah SAW every single day. Right, so that's her situation, right? She would do it every single day, throw the thorns on the path of Rasulullah SAW. So Allah warns her in the Quran that is her fate. That is going to be her ending and Abu Lahab's ending. So he did this, right? And because he did that, everybody got up and they left. Right? So nobody supported Rasulullah at this point. Right? But the law has been given. The law has been said. It is now time to call Islam openly. Right? So, and Islam is to be declared openly. So Rasulullah, he would go to the Kaaba in the open. He would recite Quran openly. Right, they used to be secret about it, but then now he was doing it in the open. So he would read Quran openly in front of the disbelievers. They will get very angry with him, right, for doing so. He would pray in the open in the Kaaba. And there are many instances of him praying in the Kaaba in the open, right, whereby the disbelievers, they will say, okay, which of you will go and, throw this big rock on the head of Muhammad? And he destroy him there and then. Right, so like Abu Jahl will say, I will be the one. I will destroy him when he's in sujood and bring this huge rock. So he will carry the huge rock, right, to Rasulullah when he's praying. And when he reaches the place where he's praying, Allah makes him blind to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he cannot see where is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he will hear the voice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he can't see where is the person. Right, so they were like, I can't see him. And he will go back, and the people like, what's wrong with you? So I couldn't see him when I went there. Right, so someone else will try and do it, and they'll think the same wrong, and they'll go again. And they will try and destroy and break the head of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But then Allah will blind them also from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they can't see him, and they come back, I can't see him, and each of them will try doing it, and none of them will see him. There is one instance. Other instances, there has been related, Abu Jahl will say, I will go to him and I will press my foot on his neck and break his neck. And so what is in sujood lah? Because sujood, you're in a very vulnerable position. Your head is down. A lot of things can be done to you. So you want to go there and just place his foot on the neck of Rasulullah and just press it down. So when he went near, right, he saw a huge fire appear a pit of fire in front of him, and between him and Rasulullah, and he ran away. Because he saw, there's a huge pit of fire in front of him. Other times he saw a huge monstrous camel that was guarding Rasulullah, monstrous camel, and the other religions that says a monstrous lion that he saw. And these were real creatures from the hellfire that Allah placed in front of him. And Rasulullah, when he heard the news that Abu Jahl saw these things, he said that if Abu Jahl took one more step, the creature would have bitten off his head straight away and killed him there and then. Because he was terrified, he ran away, right, from the monster that he saw. Right? And many instances of Rasulullah when they tried to hurt Rasulullah at that point. Okay, so now the people, right, going in the strategies of the people of Mecca at that time, right. So we went through the command to go public. The tribe of Rasulullah, the mountain Safa, we went through those three, right. So the struggles of the early Muslims, we'll go into that later on, right. The early converts into Islam, right. All the Sahabas, they were converts, and they went through a lot of struggles, right, a lot. So we will go into the methods used first, right, by the people of the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the disbelievers lah. So the first method, which didn't work obviously, was to ignore it. They tried to ignore. Right, so when they saw the message being spread, they tried to ignore it, hoping that it will go away. Right, but they realized that more and more people were becoming Muslim. Right, so that was the situation. Right, and in fact, there were stories of okay, that one I'll mention later on. Right, but basically, they tried. So ignoring did not work. So the second thing they did was they began to mock. right, mock Rasulullah SAW to remove credibility from him. Right, so they called him. They began to say that he's such a poor person. He's not the best of us. Like he's a weak person. Like some would even claim that he copied from the books of the Jews and the Christians, and he made up his own book, the Quran. Which is not true, of course, lah. They know he's not a reader nor a writer. He's never been able to read nor write before this. Right? So it will be an amazing feat, right, for him to all of a sudden come up with the Quran, right, and he has never been able to read nor write, right, from before, and he was never one of the poets. Right? This is a society of poets, and he was never someone who would say any form of poetry. And we know, he is definitely, there is no proof in his life that he was capable of poetry. Right? In fact, of the Sahabas who heard him try to compose verses, right, they said, "Ya Rasulullah, you are not a poet. Right? You're not, for this art. Right? You're not. You don't have the means, lah, right, to do this art of poetry." Right? So they did this, right? So eventually, they began to become worried because this incident of Rasulullah declaring Islam, and now in the open calling people to Islam. So he will go from group to group in Mecca. Right, and he will try to call them to Islam, to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one true God. Right? And people, they would, the majority of the people would reject him. Right? Because human beings are like that. Human beings go with majority. Which is why it's dangerous, right, for us to look around us and see what the majority is doing. Right? Because the majority, sometimes they do nonsense. Right? So like when games, and you see that, and in schools especially, you see that the children, right, because somebody has it, everybody has it. And when you look at it, why do they have? Like, what kind of games do they play? What kind of like things do they buy? And they spend money, a lot of money, doing it. I know there was a fad about like some slime they used to make in primary school, right? There's something, and they would actually buy and spend a lot of money just to buy this slime and play with this slime because it was a thing. It was a thing that happened in their time. Right? So, and it happens throughout the ages. There's all these fads that happen, and human beings are like that. If the majority is on it, we are on it. If the majority is not on it, very few people will actually pull away. Right? So in our time, like the majority, maybe like there was a movie out or something. So the majority of the people are talking about it. So everybody will go and watch, right, or whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but basically. But very few will actually see it as a waste of time. Right? I have too little time in my life to actually be bothered by this. I need to do something else that's more important. Right, in a sense, but very few will not be influenced, right, by what the majority are doing. Which is why it's a test on time of Rasulullah, whereby those who actually believe, they were the minority, and very, very painful minority. Right, the majority were disbelievers. So, but the disbelievers, they were still concerned. Right, for them, they don't want anybody to be Muslim. So even though the Muslims were like 40 people, it was one classroom. Like, let them be lah. For them, no. We are going to make as many people come out of Islam. Right? They don't want anyone to be a Muslim because they feel threatened. And inshallah, we'll go into why the disbelievers have had such an issue about people becoming Muslim. Like, what was their issue? What was their problem? That it drove them to torturing the Muslims. Like, why can't they just leave the Muslims worship Allah? And that's what Sayyidina Abu Bakr said when they were cursing Rasulullah SAW. Sayyidina Abu Bakr came up and said that, are you going to curse a man who just says my God is Allah? That's all he does. He goes around preaching. Yeah, he does. He's not hurting anybody. If you don't want to believe, don't believe. You want to believe, believe. Finish. Right? Why are you all being so hostile? Why being so aggressive? Why are you hurting him? Like, what is up lah? What is the situation? But basically what they saw, right, with Rasulullah SAW, they saw their positions in society, right, these disbelievers, being threatened. Because Islam calls to equality. Islam calls to accountability. Right? It calls to good morals. So their way of life, as it is, even though the Muslims are only 40 out of a few hundred Meccans, right, even then, even 1,000 plus Meccans, even then they felt threatened because this new ideology, right, is completely against what is in their favor. Right, their favor is that the rich rule. We make our own laws because we are rich, right? and we are not held to account for whatever we do because we are rich. Right? So that is basically what they like. Islam calls to the opposite of that. Right? It calls to justice, accountability, fairness. Right? So that is a threat. Right? And also to reduce the 360 idols around the Kaaba to one God who is everywhere, that is economically not favorable. Right? Because the idols, the 360 idols around the Kaaba, they bring in the tribes throughout the peninsula. So the tribes come, there is a fair every year. Right? And you have a bazaar going on every year. That's money. Right? Basically, that's business. Right? So to now tell us you need to destroy all our idols, there's only one God, that they can even worship that one God in their own homeland. Right? Why would people come anyway? Right now, but now we see that Mecca, they are filthy rich. Only why? Because of the Hajj and Umrah. Only because of Hajj and Umrah, Mecca and Medina. Right, there's so much money there. Of course, they have their oil that Allah has given them. Right, but subhanAllah, Allah gives the wealth. Right, they are filthy rich. Right, but like how they're using their wealth is a different situation. Like the malls. If you ever been to Mecca before, Mecca, subhanAllah. When I went there when I was like JC, I was in JC. I went to Mecca. Now, okay, not bad. Right, that one still my mother was like complaining about it. She said, it used to be so much nicer than this. Like, whereby, you have like small, they say you used to have really small hotels around the Kaaba area whereby the poor could stay there, and it's basically very comfortable. Right, but now the entire area, and it's quite a huge area around the Kaaba, right, is now mega malls. Right, whereby above the malls are very expensive 5-star or 7-star hotels. So the poor who come to Mecca, they live on the outskirts. They have to. You can't even ask Singaporeans, you can't afford those hotels. Right, so we live on the hotels that's at Mina, not even in Mecca itself, outside of Mecca. And every morning, right, they would leave, and you see the Pakistanis, the Indonesians, they have this. So they will leave their hotel in the morning. They come to the Haram, and they will stay there the whole day, and not go back, right? Because they don't have the money to go back and forth. And they want to spend their time at the Kaaba because for most of them, it's a once-in-a-lifetime journey. They save their whole life savings just to get there. Right? So, I mean, Allahu Alam lah, but for me, I completely hate it that they have done that. And that they have prioritized the rich to be near the Kaaba. Of course, it is, it's hot land. It's hot area to be around the Kaaba because the Kaaba is the point. That's why people are coming. Right? But to do that, like to occupy the space with malls, shopping for the rich. Can you all do your shopping somewhere else? Like don't come to Mecca and do your shopping. Come on, right? Come to Mecca, do your ibadah. Have simple hotels around where people won't indulge in their 5-star and their 7-star. It's a simple hotel with a bed, maybe aircon. You don't have to have a TV. The Kaaba is there. Must you have a TV in the hotel? Right, so it's depressing that in the hotels there are TVs in the hotel and they show the worst channels, and the Kaaba is right there. It's right there. Right, so subhanallah. Right, so what it's just basically and what is driving it? The demand. Right, the demand for this. Right, but if they are upright and they have tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't uglify the area around the Kaaba. Don't do that. Right, don't have dunya all around. What's wrong with you? Like have but basically you have Hilton coming in, you have all the big hotels of the world. They're all there. Right, and then you have smoking. Because smoking is profitable. Right, whatever is profitable. Same thing lah. Back then, now, but only now they're all believers in one God lah. Right, back then is of course they're all these believers in the one true God. But money talks. Money talks. Right, so that's why they were being very aggressive. Right, because they saw their station in society being threatened. They did not see it. Some of the Sahaba said to them that if you believe in this man and his affair will be great, like Rasulullah, it will be great. You will be the king of Arabs. You will be. Right, but if you fight him, you will be destroyed. Right, so some of the Sahabas they could see. Right, but the Quraysh, they could not see that. All they saw was he is a threat to my position in society. Right, to our comfortable life and our business lah in society. And that's why they were being very aggressive about it. So basically, at that point, the Hajj season was drawing near. And the Hajj season, people will come from all around the peninsula into Mecca for the Hajj. And of course, we mentioned before that their Hajj is like completely messed up. Right? They've changed completely the rites of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. So Nabi Ibrahim, he will begin his Hajj at Arafah. And he will go to Arafah, and then he will come to Mina and go to Muzdalifah and then go to the Kaaba. And that is the Hajj rites. Right? What they have done is that they have said, okay, you know what? The poorer people, right? This is, this elitism lah. That's why Hajj, even Hajj, Allah says wear the ihram. They have to dress all the same. Right? But then what's the point in that, if you're going to have your 5-star hotels? Right? You're not the same anymore. And even when you go to Arafah, for me when I went to Hajj, there are first class tents. They also have first class tents. And you're like, frustrating. You're supposed to be on a Hajj. Can you just leave your dunya for a while? For a while, it won't kill you. Just leave your dunya behind. Leave the world and come for Hajj. No, they have 5-star. They have hotels where the food is buffet style. I mean, not hotels, tents. Buffet style food. The tents have air conditioning in the tent. Right? And they have their mattresses, their beds, and whatsoever is in Arafah. And then those who are poorer, you'll be further away. Right? I mean, less money you have, the less near you are to the parts whereby you throw the stones. Right? The throwing the stones is where your Hajj rites at Mina. So basically, you'll be far away. Right? And your tents, all you get is carpet. Bring your own sleeping bag. Right? And then basically that was it lah. There's no aircon, nothing, whatever. You suffer in the heat lah. Right. So basically, at the boys' share one toilet, that kind of thing. But of course, in the richer tents, they have their, whatever. And even then, the rich don't stay in their tents. They go into Mina after they can spend half the night. They get out, right? And they go back to the hotels, and they spend. So like Subhanallah, our Hajj, the whole spirit of it, of coming to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, leave your world behind, leave your comfort, leave your luxury, come and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, focus on Him. But all they focus on is the food, the comfort, the heat, the whatsoever, and then come back and say that, Hajj wasn't that much. Just a lot of money spent. And I've heard people say that Hajj was just a lot of money